Estamos ya cerca de las 10:05, estos 5 minutos de espera. Si os parece, vamos a proceder a empezar la sesión de hoy. Gracias a todos por estar ahí y compartir con nosotros esta experiencia que hoy vamos a transmitir. Os ruego que desconectéis los micrófonos y las cámaras en este momento para facilitar la fluidez de la comunicación. Vamos a proceder a una presentación de unas experiencias hoy con Sandra Bødker, desde Dinamarca, de una hidrogenera con unos autobuses urbanos. Y a continuación vamos a proceder a una rueda de preguntas y respuestas. I will speak in English now. As part of the European Union's Emotion project, the Northern Denmark region purchased 3 fuel cell buses and hydrogen refueling station. They started operation in March 2020 and have been running for 3 years. The 3 fuel buses are the first in Denmark, and like a pioneering project, a lot of experience has been accumulated. The presentation will review the experiences with fuel cell buses and hydrogen refueling infrastructure in Denmark, the lesson learned, and the results and data that have been collected so far in the project. Sandra Bødker is the project manager for regional development in the northern region of Denmark, where she works mainly with green public transport solutions. For the past years, she has coordinated the procurement and operation of Denmark's first fuel cell buses, which are part of the larger European project called Emotion. Regarding the organization of the meeting, the session will start with a presentation by Sandra Bødker and will end with a review of questions from the audience. Please turn off your microphones and cameras and write your question in English or Spanish in the meeting chat. We will try to answer all of them. Dear Sandra, thank you very much for your time, and please, you can start as you want. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and thank everyone for joining this webinar today. I'm very happy to be able to share our experience. We have gained a lot of knowledge during those 3 years. So I will try to share my presentation now. Just 1 second. Do you see it now?
Yes, we can see.
Great.
Thank you.
Okay. Yes, so here we have the fuel cell bus and also a picture of the dispenser of the hydrogen refueling station. Where I'm from, it's the North Denmark region, where we are the smallest region in Denmark, and we are what we call the first climate region, where we have a special focus on being first movers in green transition and solutions for mobility and infrastructure. Where our work is called regional development, and under that mobility and infrastructure, where our main task is to create sustainable mobility solutions that connect the entire region and also in and out of the region and between the municipalities.
Sorry,
so
Sandra.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Only could you please put in the presentation mode the Excel, the PowerPoint, please? In the full screen, in the full screen mode. We can see the content of the presentation. Don't worry.
Okay.
Go ahead. Okay, thank you. Sorry,
Yeah.
sorry, Sandra.
Sorry, I think, yeah. Yes, so the scope of this project, we entered in 2017, and we wanted to, in Denmark, to test 3 fuel cell buses on green hydrogen, and we had 1 on 1 city bus route and 2 on regional routes. And we wanted to test for 3 years, so they started in 2020, and the project ended now in December. Each bus has to drive, the target was to drive 50,000 kilometers per year per bus. And then, of course, we also needed to establish some sort of refueling infrastructure for hydrogen. And here we chose to make a refueling hydrogen station with on-site production of hydrogen. Within the project, we also had to educate the mechanics and drivers in order to service and also manage the buses. And of course, collect a lot of data, both for ourselves and also for the EU project. The way we organized it in Denmark is that we, as the North Denmark region, we were project managers in the project, and we had bought 2 of the buses, the one that was that were running on the regional routes, and then we had Aalborg municipality. They bought 1 bus that was running on the city bus route. And then we had the local PTA within our group as well, primarily in order to do the tender process, because we had to do an EU tender with the buses. Then we also had the operators, Arriva and Keolis. And the past half year, it had also been Tidebus from Norway that has been running one of the buses. And they also serviced and maintained the buses during those 3 years. The entire Free Motion project was not only us in Aalborg in Denmark, but we also had 4 other cities, which are Rotterdam. They had 6 buses, and London with 10 buses, Versailles with 7 buses, and Pau in southern France with 3 buses. And in Pau they had these 24 meters luxury buses. So it was also quite exciting following their project. The purpose for us to enter into this project was to mainly generate knowledge and experience with hydrogen as a fuel, and also to support and strengthen the innovation within the sector. We have a big hydrogen sector in the northern of Denmark. We have this called the Hydrogen Valley, where there's a lot of companies working with hydrogen, not only for buses or trucks, but also in other uses. We also have Ballard company that is situated in the North Denmark region that has provided the fuel cells for the buses. And we are a public institution, so of course we also want to promote green transition in society, and also generate some more knowledge and experience with how to transition the heavy duty transport in Denmark into more green solutions.
Sandra, sorry. Are you, because we are in slide 2? Are you moving the slides? Because we are only in slide 2.
Yes, that looks
you can see
better, I think.
Yeah. Okay, perfect. Let me know in which one you want.
Yeah, you can just go to slide 5.
5.
Yeah.
Here.
Yeah. So I don't think you saw this, but this is like the overview.
We didn't see. Okay.
Okay. This is like the overview of the other cities that are in the Free Motion EU project.
Okay.
Yeah. So you can go to slide 7 now.
This one.
Yeah. So here you see the inside of the fuel cell bus. We decorated it quite in a different way than our other buses in order to show the new fuel and like to highlight that it is a different bus, a green bus. So yeah, we did an EU tender, as I said, and then Van Hoel from Belgium won this tender and wanted to provide us with the free fuel cell buses. And the fuel cell buses are of the model called A330. Fuel cells are delivered by Ballard. And we were guaranteed by Van Hoel a minimum range of 350 kilometers per refuel, but our experience showed that they can actually drive up to 450 kilometers on one refuel. So that was very positive for us. Yeah, and then we had a service agreement, full service and maintenance agreement with Van Hoel, who then subcontracted our operators, Clúster and Arriva, in order to have the service and maintenance on site, and also to make experience for the mechanics and the operators and how to maintain a bus like this. Next slide. So we have been driving for 3 years and just stopped in December. Our target was to hit 4,000 kilometers per month. We have hit target most months with the 2 of the buses, but we started just, I think it was 2 weeks before COVID hit. So that was very unfortunate because, as you know, there were no passengers, so the buses weren't running. Which caused a lot of difficulties for a startup with new technology. It took quite some time to get it running properly, and it was hard to have the communication properly with people because everybody was sitting at home and no buses running and no passengers. But then we started operation more normally. And here you can see in January, we didn't drive at all the entire month because we had an issue with the refueling station. Also due to COVID, we couldn't get the spare parts from Spain, actually. So this took some time, unfortunately. And in general, we had experienced some issues with the hydrogen refueling infrastructure. Because it is also a prototype we bought in order to test this. Yes, you can go to the next slide. Regarding the maintenance of the buses, we actually hear from our mechanics that they spend less time maintaining the fuel cell buses than regular diesel buses. There are very low maintenance on them, also because they're new, but also because the motor and the fuel cell, it doesn't require that much maintenance as a normal diesel bus. There were, of course, some minor repairs and checkups and periodical maintenance, but it was very little we experienced. Next slide. So overall, the lessons we learned with the fuel cell buses is that first of all, the drivers were extremely happy about the buses. They drive very smoothly and they're easy to drive, and also I think the drivers thought of it as a part of a project. They felt like they were part of getting this new green solution into the world. So they were very proud and very happy to be driving the buses. And then the passengers are also very happy because they experience a more silent bus ride and also more smooth. And also, of course, the decoration and the new bus is also better than an old diesel bus. And I think also the passengers, they also like that it's green and zero emission. And yeah, less time spent on maintenance, and also it has the same availability as a diesel bus. We could use it in completely normal operation. And then we had the longer range than expected, and the workshops for the operators were easily adjusted to hydrogen. It wasn't very expensive to. It was just some minor adjustments with the ventilation in order to be able to handle hydrogen. It's the same as, for example, biogas. Next slide. So here you see the refueling station. Yeah, next slide. The way we organized the refueling station is that we bought the entire solution of green hydrogen systems, a Danish company, and then they subcontracted Clúster from Spain and Calvera, also from Spain, to provide the facility storage, the compressor, and also the dispenser unit. But we had the full agreement with Green Hydrogen Systems, also with maintenance and service. And we in the North Denmark region, we then provided the permits needed to set up the system, and also all the civil work. We needed to put some foundation for the containers and fence and lighting, etc. Some quick facts about the refueling station. We produced 90 kilos a day for the free buses, and it takes around 20 minutes to refuel when it's almost at zero, but we never put the buses down to 0%. We have them always at least 10%. So it would take them around 15 minutes to refuel, 10-15 minutes. The refueling station is scalable, so if we wanted more buses, we could also scale up and produce more hydrogen. Next slide. So here you see the entire refueling station where we have the electrolyzer to the left with on-site production, and then we have the first storage, small storage at 35 bar. Then we have the compressor unit in the middle that compresses the hydrogen to 300 and 450 bar at the bigger storage to the right. And then we have the dispenser and also control unit where we dispense the hydrogen to the vehicles and also gather all the data on the hydrogen. Next slide. Yeah, you can just skip that one. Next. So here we have some data on the hydrogen refueling infrastructure, where you can see the blue and the green line, they follow each other more or less, which they also should, because it's how much we produce hydrogen and how much we also dispensed into the vehicles. And that should follow the same pattern, almost. And then we also had an agreement with Green Hydrogen Systems that if, for example, the electrolyzer didn't work, they had to deliver hydrogen on tube trailers so we could get the hydrogen onto the buses. So the bright green one, I think it is, it's how much we have hydrogen we have gotten from tube trailers produced elsewhere. Yeah, next slide. So the overall lessons we learned with the hydrogen infrastructure is that it took a lot of time to get the permits to just set up the solution, because it was the first hydrogen refueling infrastructure for buses for public transportation. So the government, they didn't have that little box to sort of check off with the hydrogen refueling station. So they kind of had to figure out what they needed for us to provide with them, and what sort of rules they had to set up. And it was also new to the company, Green Hydrogen Systems, so they also had to figure out what kind of documentation they had to produce for the government. So this took quite a while and delayed us a little bit in the setup. Another thing that we have learned is that communication between the drivers and the responsible for the hydrogen station is extremely important, because if the hydrogen station doesn't work, the buses doesn't have another place to refuel, at least in our case. So it was very important that they would communicate immediately to the drivers in order for them to know and not go in operation. Because we had the buses in normal operation, so they had to pick up passengers, etc. So we had to set up this communication system, which was quite difficult in the beginning to sort of get going. But we got it well in place in the end. And then in Denmark, we have a very high electricity fee on production of hydrogen for buses. We have this tax that is 2 times the price, and this tax is for purely electrical buses. This has been lifted off in order to promote green transition, but since these buses are the first fuel cell buses in Denmark, they hadn't been written into to this kind of exemption. So we had to pay 3 times as much the price as for a normal electric bus, which we thought was very unfair. So we are actually now kind of battling the government in order to change this, because if this doesn't get changed, it's it kind of dooms green fuel cell buses because it's just way too expensive to fuel them compared to an electric bus. This could also be fixed by another setup because we have this on-site production in a very small scale. If you produce it in Denmark in a very big scale, then you can take off all these taxes and produce the hydrogen at a very low price instead of this setup. But also we only have 3 buses, so when you have this small scale, it would also always be way more costly than a bigger scale. A good thing about the hydrogen station was that it was very easy for the drivers to use it. The dispenser part is a touch screen, so it was very easy for them, and also to plug in the cable. So they were very happy about how to use this, because I was sort of nervous in the beginning because they didn't quite know like how it worked, etc. Next slide, please. Yeah, so here you can see where the bus is refueling. Next slide. So yeah, as I said, we have this tax in Denmark. I know it's not. This is not the case other places in Europe. Other cities in the project that didn't experience this sort of price as we did. But it means that we give a little more than 22 euros per kilo, which is very, very high price for hydrogen. I know another place in Europe where they give around 8 euros per kilo, or even down to 4 to 6 euros. I'm not sure if it gets lower than that, but it means that we have an extremely high price, and it's not very feasible as it is. So we're trying to change that. Next slide, please. So the overall conclusions for our project is that we were extremely happy about the buses. They showed great availability. Passengers and drivers were happy about them, and we didn't experience much problems with fuel cell buses. In our experience, it really took a lot of commitment from all the partners and a lot of communication, because it is new technology, and it was the first fuel cell buses in Denmark, so everybody didn't quite know how to do this. So it took a while, and also especially commitment from the drivers. They really showed a lot of willingness to try it, and also very flexible. If something were wrong, they would try to fix it and also help a lot. So we have gained a lot of knowledge and experience, and in our opinion, the buses are ready for big scale deployment. As you also see many places now in Europe, a lot of fuel cell buses are getting into operation. So yeah, we definitely think that it's a good way to transform the bus fleet into to green. Yes. Next slide. I think that's all from me. So I hope you learned a little bit, and there's of course a lot more to tell, but I think it's better if you ask some questions, and then I can answer them specifically. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Sandra. Very interesting experience, very interesting explanation. Thank you so much. We have some questions from the audience. Of course, anyone, please write down your questions. The first one is coming from Eugenio Trillo. Eugenio Trillo is also the responsible for training in our cluster. The Andalusian cluster of hydrogen is the responsible for training and management of the training people and so on. And he is asking for price of the bus approximately. Do you remember the price for the bus you paid?
Yeah, we paid around 800 euros.
800,000.
800,000 euros. Yeah, per bus. I know it's a lot less now.
Yeah. But have you got any subsidy from the European Union? I can imagine.
Yeah, we got 50% subsidies from the European Union. And I also see the tendency right now for fuel cell buses is that almost all the fuel cell buses, as I know, are under EU projects. So they're always subsidized, and the price sort of follows how much you can get from the EU. So if, for example, you only get 20% subsidized, then the price is equally lower. So it's not quite like market terms yet.
And I make a question just at this moment because I think it's a good point. You also have some battery buses. How is the experience in between? What is you think is better the performance of the fuel cell buses in front of battery, or not, or similar?
I think it's the same actually.
The same.
Yeah, we also have a lot of battery buses, and they also experience like this startup issues, sort of. But I think it's the same performance. They perform equally well.
Yeah, only the time of refueling, I can imagine. You need more hours to fill the batteries.
Yeah, we have overnight charging at the depot. But if you have hydrogen, they can refuel in I think you can go down to 6 minutes if you have cooling on the refueling station.
Yes.
So that's quite fast compared to battery buses.
It's true. Next question is coming from Jose Maria Montero. Jose Maria asked, did the maintenance team receive any kind of competence learning program before servicing the buses?
Yeah, we had this agreement with Van Hol that they would receive, I think it was 3 weeks of education for the mechanics and 2 weeks for the drivers, where Van Hol, the bus manufacturer, sent up some people to educate both mechanics and drivers. So they received a lot of education beforehand.
Good. John Vidal asked, what was the cost of the refueling station and its specs? I think you have already shown us some specs, but price?
Yes, I can just find it. I think it was 1.2 million euros for the refueling station, and then we also had to pay to connect to the grid, to the electricity grid, and we also had to pay for the civil works, of course. So I think it was around 2 million euro in total, and this is also way too expensive compared to now, and also the setups you can get now. Yes. Because it's a fuel in much development, so the prices also change very quickly.
Thank you. Another question coming from Jose Maria Montero again. Jose Maria Montero has a lot of leadership in these questions.
Yeah.
Permits are a matter of local or European laws, regulations?
I think it's a matter of local. Because it was primarily the fire department, like how much space we needed to have between the hydrogen station and, for example, a road or trees, etc. It was primarily the fire department that set the permits. So I think it's very also within the EU project. I know some of the other cities experienced also a lot of difficulties getting the permits. So it's very different from country to country what the requirements are.
It's a big issue, of course.
Yes.
Joan Vidal is also asking for the cost of the bus. It's already answered. It was Joan was 800,000 and 50% of subsidy. I think you can hear before. But he's asking also for the annual operation and maintenance cost. Do you have any idea about this cost?
I actually don't have any numbers on it. We haven't calculated it. We just calculated like the entire 3 years. But I can find it and send it afterwards. If you
Sure. Thank you. I would appreciate. Another question is another question is about the compressor. The compressor is coming from Hidromeccanica. It's an Italian company. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Tony is asking which were the main and biggest durability issues after 100 kilometers driving on its 3 vehicles. Let me understand this. Oh, I don't know. I think it's 1,000. Tony, could you open the microphone and explain this question? Thank you, Tony.
Yes, yes. I was wondering about which were the main problems you faced with any of these 3 vehicles after the completed mileage so far, which I saw it was around 100,000 kilometers, right?
Mm.
Yeah. We actually didn't experience any issues. It was only in the beginning we had some startup issues with the cooling system on one of the buses, I remember. But there wasn't anything particular after the 100,000. They just keep driving very well.
Okay.
So that's very positive.
Good drivers.
Yeah.
Okay, Tony, go ahead, please.
No issues with the fuel stack or the batteries.
No, we didn't experience any of those.
And I follow with my next question, which is if you detect any issues particular related to any of the routes. So I mean, if you have some any routes with more how to say polluted environment, or if you have some more routes with more hilly sections that might have a relationship with the issues detected on the vehicles.
The routes we have, like Denmark is very, very flat, so we don't have any hills.
Denmark is very flat.
Yeah, but we experienced especially the 2 regional routes when they go on the highway, they go up to 80 kilometers per hour, and if there was a lot of wind, especially from the side, for some reason, it would use more hydrogen than normal. That's the only thing we experienced.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Tony. Roberto Barrios asks how much time does it take to fill its bus? I think this question is already answered. You told us around 20 minutes or 15 in case that not completely empty. The tank of the bus is coming in the station. It's okay. And do you see any specific filling protocol? Is cool down or ambient temperature hydrogen?
I don't know.
Yeah, I can answer this question because we make the design of the station. This is a SAE, is a J2601 protocol. It is not cooling, it is ambient temperature hydrogen. We are fortunately in Denmark, there is a nice temperature normally, not so high. So it's not necessary to cool down the station, the filling. What would, John Vidal, again, what would be the bus price if it was bought now, the actual price of the bus? Do you have any idea, Sandra?
What I hear from the other cities, some of the other cities in the project, they have bought more buses and they plan to buy more after the project also. And I think it's down to 400,000 euro.
Less.
Where we bought it from 800. And I also think, but still, it's still within EU programs, so they get subsidies also. And I think the price varies a lot.
Yeah, it is true. And the expected lifespan for these buses? Do you have the lifetime for this kind of buses? Do you have any idea?
We normally have like contracts for 12 years, and then we write off the bus. and we have expected this for the fuel cell bus as well.
And
So,
excellent.
yeah.
Okay. Another question is coming from Mirel Fouquet. How do you consider the creation of a small H2 hub and collaboration with other industries in order to maximize your investment in electrolyzer? Mirel, I think that you can explain this question more deeply if you want, opening your microphone, if you want, of course. Mirel, are you there?
No.
No. So,
but yeah, we considered with this hydrogen valley in the North Denmark region, where they also produce hydrogen on a bigger scale, and we actually tried to investigate before we bought the solution with the on-site production if we could buy the hydrogen for them and then get it transported to our buses. But then also, like, in the spirit of trying something new and gaining experience, we wanted to try the on-site production and see how that worked, and to gain experience with this instead.
So, I'm sorry, I was struggling. I was pushing on the right button in order to unlock my microphone. So really, my idea was I originally come from Canada, and we are looking there at the option of creating small hubs. So we understand that the investment in an electrolyzer and everything that goes around it, connection to the grid and so on, is a big investment. It's a major investment, basically. And so in order to maximize it, we know that a lot of people are looking like at putting, for instance, the refueling station in a strategic point within the city, for instance, where it's not just the buses, but also, for instance, trucking companies could go, where you could also have some logistics companies who maybe will not have their trucks on fuel cells, but maybe have some of their forklifts and so on that are going to use fuel cell batteries in order to operate. And so there is, and even some industries who are using hydrogen as a raw material for their activities, for instance, in metal treatment or so. Have you considered working together, creating synergies with other people, with other industries in order to maximize your investment? Basically, that's what I'm asking.
Yeah, we're actually starting up a new project that just got improved, where we want to create these kind of hubs at the harbors, because hydrogen is also very interesting for the maritime sector, where they also have like these big transportation hubs already. So we wanted to get a focus on how to create the harbors as green hubs for green transition and for hydrogen, in order to like think it all together. So this is actually starting up now. So I hope we can like gather these sectors a little bit more, because now in Denmark it's sort of, at least in North Denmark region, it's sort of like separated, like trucks refuel here, buses here. So we wanted to make the harbors this kind of hub, maybe.
Okay, thank you very much, Miguel, for your answer, your question. Tony asked, did the public tender consider also conventional buses, diesel, natural gas, hybrid, as candidates? Did you take short result or similar as KPIs to take the final decision?
So when we did the tender, we didn't consider conventional buses for this project, because we had to have fuel cell buses in this project. But when we do our normal tenders now, we do all tenders emission-free, almost. They can also bid with biogas or LNG. So we don't choose the technology, but we just choose like it has to be emission-free at least. So now that we see all the operators are bidding in with electric buses, and they could as well bid in with the fuel cell buses, but as I said, it's very expensive in Denmark due to the taxation system.
Another question from Joan Vidal. How many jobs were created from operation and maintenance of refueling stations? None.
I'm not sure. We don't have like the numbers on this, but because I don't know if there were any new jobs created regarding the specific, but I know like green hydrogen systems that provided us with the hydrogen station, they have grown a lot since. I don't know if it's only due to our project, probably also other projects, but they have grown a lot in volume. Also, the Ballard company that provided the fuel cells, I think they went from, I think it was around 30 employees to 150 in 2 years. So I hope our project, of course, has helped create some jobs, but I don't have the specific numbers attached to how much our specific project has created.
Raúl Márquez asking which was the fuel cell electric bus capacity in kilos of hydrogen per tank, and how fast is the refueling process? I think this is more or less already answered. If I remember, the fuel cell capacity was 38 or 37 kilo per bus.
Yeah, 38 per bus.
Yeah, and the time is in between 15 and 20 minutes.
Yes.
And as we told just some minutes ago, without any cooling down. Okay. Tony, did you calculate the payback of the investment considering the station and the 3 fuel cell electric vehicles?
Money-wise, I don't think there's any
payback.
But experience-wise, there's a lot. Yeah, it wasn't cheap, and yeah, it's not like we're gaining money doing it, but the experience and also the growth in the industry, of course, also has an economic perspective, but I don't know the scope of it.
Okay. Nicolas Pandic, I think is not coming from Cádiz, this person. Nicolas, if you want to make the question, because I think that you want to ask about the condition, no? The condition of the use of the bus.
Yes, sure, thanks. Yeah, my question was mainly that, which are, because you are stating an 8 kilograms per 100 kilometers, which are, let's say, the mean conditions for that consumption. Let's say if it's an urban or extra-urban driving cycle, or the usage of the air conditioning, because I know Denmark is pretty cold, so maybe that has an impact also. And yeah, that's my question basically. Thanks.
Yeah, they had the 8 kilos per 100 kilometers is the average, and the regional routes, they use a little more when they drive on the highway with 80 kilometers per hour, and also during the winter it was a little bit higher, but not that much, because I think it's not that many times it is below 0 in Denmark, so in average it was just like almost the same all year round. It wasn't much affected by the climate, I think, because it's like it isn't that extreme. Then I think it has to be really hot or really cold, and in Denmark it's just like meh all the time.
Mirel, please let us know.
I just wanted to mention, because there is a similar trial that has been taking place in Canada, where we do have extreme colds and we have extreme heat as well, but especially extreme colds, we're famous for it. And actually the big difference and the big advantage of the fuel cell buses compared to electric batteries is that the loss in performance with extreme cold temperature was negligible compared to what happens with electric batteries. Standard electric lithium batteries. So the fuel cells were losing very little autonomy typically. So Canada is really looking at this as a solution much more than electric batteries because of that.
That's very nice to hear.
Thank you, Mirel. Another question is, what is the electrolyzer company? What is the power of the electrolyzer?
The electrolyzer company is the Danish company Green Hydrogen Systems. We bought the entire solution from them, but afterwards now they only focus on making electrolyzers. They don't operate or maintain hydrogen stations anymore. And I'm not sure about the power, what is meant.
I think the power is around 500 kilowatts. It's a 90 cubic meter per hour. So it's 450, more or less, 450 kilowatts power. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, there are no more questions. If you don't have any more questions, I have some questions. Because I don't remember exactly if the electrolyzer and the station is connected directly to the electrical network of the country. Is that right? Okay.
Yeah, it is.
And how green is the electricity in Denmark, in the country? What is the percentage? You know?
No, I'm not sure about the percentage, but what we have done to make it green is that we bought these certificates. So of course we can't be sure it's 100% green. Otherwise we would have to put up a windmill or something, but
Sure.
that was too much.
Yeah. Okay.
So
okay.
yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. One question more is coming from the roof Damani. What is the risk related to the use of this kind of buses? The risk of the use.
The risk is it's expensive.
Expensive mainly.
Yeah,
Not safety.
Safety-wise, I don't think there is. I haven't heard of any buses exploding, or what you would say. So I don't think they make a risk per se. I don't think so.
Okay.
Of course, if they're in a crash, then it might be a little more explosive than a normal bus. But there's all sort of safety precautions and sort of ventils that lift off the hydrogen immediately if something would happen. Then the hydrogen goes into the air immediately.
Okay, thank you very much, Sandra. If there are no more questions, I would like to make a short conclusion of this presentation. And I see that we have to decrease the price of the buses. It's very important in order to improve and to spread the implementation of this kind of technologies. Also, I have seen that your country you pay a lot of taxes for green electricity. It was surprising to me because I thought was in the contrary, because in reality, green electricity has to be cheaper in order to spread this kind of technologies. Please call to the Prime Minister to tell that decrease the price of the green energy. About the station, also, I see that we have to improve the availability. Sometimes you don't have a station or you don't have electrolyzer. Of course, in these last 3 years, we have improved a lot the performance, a lot. You cannot imagine. Thanks to this kind of experience, we can improve because we can test and try. And of course, in order to improve also the payback of the investment, we have to look for more application in the same investment. You told about maritime application. I can also suggest taxi drivers or something like this in order to make a different application, different ways to make more profitable these kind of things. Okay, Sandra, thank you very much for your presentation. We appreciate a lot from this association, your words and your time. It's very nice to learn from real experiences. This is one of the activities we make every month from our association. Thank you very much for all the audience, and I hope to see you in the next time. Okay?
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sandra. See you. Gracias a todos. Muchas gracias. Adiós. Buenos días.